So how are you feeling heading into this Six Nations, Scott?
We're in a good period of time together. We're ready for it. It seems like it's been a while coming, and then suddenly you get to Six Nations Week, and you're suddenly like you're here. But the girls have been working hard. To be honest, we've got the training ground piece now. We just need to test it in the comp.
What are the added benefits of having them all together for such a long time?
Telepathy. So you start to get your playing style. Obviously we've got a few different groups. The girls over in the UK, you've got the centralised girls here in Ireland. We've got the non-centralised here in Ireland. So we've got pretty strong connections. So we've had good touch points throughout. Celtic Challenge has been particularly useful. So we've been pretty heavily involved with the training playing. We've had some joint sessions, stuff like that. So, but it's not the same without everyone. So getting everyone back in just gives you time. You don't need to call stuff because you know where your mate is. You know who'll be running an inside line. You know who's likely to tip on. So those little bits of telepathy between players are pretty crucial, really, particularly when pressure comes on.
As a coach, do you have a playing style that you like, or do you go with the devise one around the players that you have?
I think you've got combination of things, really. It's like a pie. Right, a few things got to go into this pie. You've got your DNA, so myself as a coach, how we want to play, but you've got to see what the capability of the group is, and what's best fit for who you've got. So we know it's about performing and about producing winning performances on the world stage. So we need to get winning. We need to work out what it takes to that. So there'll be some bits of the game that are fundamental to that. So we'll get those right first, and then we'll start to build in terms of what we think it can look like over the next couple of years.
So what can we expect from you guys when you go out against France on Saturday?
Hopefully pretty composed, a pretty composed performance. We know, like, going to France first up, it's going to be noisy, bands, flags. Had parachutes land on the warm-up before now, so there's going to be an awful lot of stuff going on. And one of the things that we've been going after in training is that we're resilient to pressure. So I'd like to think that either we're getting an opposition under pressure or coming under a bit of pressure ourselves. We're still balanced, composed, know what we need to do, and then can execute that.
What threats are France going to bring?
They're a bit of a multi-court team, to be honest. People will probably easily remember the fact that they can wing the ball around and they like offloading, but they're big humans. They've got some big people. They can run pretty hard. Defensively, they're pretty savvy. They're quite hard to break down, and they can kick the ball. So they're well placed. They're World Cup contenders for a reason. I think they'll probably ultimately be Six Nations Championship contenders. But we got some things that we've identified in their game, and be interesting to see if we can fire those shots.
The perception is that the likes of England and France are a little bit ahead of everybody else. How quickly do you think the teams like you guys will be able to close that gap?
Part of the ongoing conversation, really. Their programmes are slightly older, so they're more mature. You'd say they've probably got greater playing numbers. So in terms of what that can produce if somebody gets injured, you've got the next player coming through. Though it never felt like that when I was in that environment. It's just a more mature programme. So we're a couple of years in to what an Ireland supported system looks like. The relevant resources are there, the relevant support mechanisms are there. Will it take time to bridge that gap? Of course it will. But the advantage in what we're going after is we'll try and learn faster. So fairly lucky maybe that I've had experience in one of those environments, and I know the bits that we need to get right quickly and first up to let the rest happen. So we know what we are, we know where we're at, or where we were, and we know where we're going, and we'll try and bridge that gap as quickly as we can.
As the Ireland head coach, what have you found have been the biggest challenges?
Probably getting everybody in the same room at the same point. Like I say, we've spoke about the centralised programme, which is off to a good start, but that needs to evolve. We obviously had players that had well-established jobs that weren't able, and right, they've got to. They're towards the end of their career. They've got to look after that side of it. So as we grow and keep evolving it, we'll get more access, more consistent access to the right people in the room at the one point.
What about the depth? You speak of ongoing conversations. That's something that kind of looms large. Is the depth? Is there more players now?
So when I first came in, WXV, and we sat down, I think it was a month after I'd started, and we had a list of players, and that list might have looked something like a 34, 35. So we've had a Celtic Challenge. Essentially, the same players are playing, but we're now sort of operating at a list at something like 42, 44. So it's moved on from where it was. Ultimately, we want to get and surpass that 45. So by the time we do get to a World Cup, we're sort of 3 deep in positions, and there'll always be a little bit of crossover. In our game, you know, you want the best players on the pitch, and somebody may be a world-class back 3 or an international back 3, and they might be able to do a turn at fullback or wing. So you're going to get some sort of crossover, multi-positional players, but if we can get to 45, a strong competitive 45, then that will allow us to continue to grow how we compete in training, which will keep taking the levels higher and higher.
Will that strong competitive 45 include sevens players?
Yeah. We're not shy about admitting it. The player pool is what it is at the moment, and there's some incredible talent in the sevens program. So myself and Alan Temple-Jones will support each other. We've got a couple of the girls that are available for us to play in the Six Nations to achieve our World Cup qualification ambitions. There'll be some girls that there's no point having girls that are high quality players sitting and not involved here. So we'll support the sevens program back. So there'll be a mutual sort of symbiotic relationship whereby we're both trying to achieve to our maximum level with the World Sevens and the Olympic program and the Six Nations and the World Cup program.
How big is a boost is it then to have the girls those sevens girls coming back in?
It's great. Look, we got to spend some time in them, WXV. They're great people. You want people that add to your environment. They're great players. They're used to playing in high pressure. You've have seen the sevens doesn't last long. There's plenty of pressure in a short space of time, and there's a lot of physical pressure. So those girls are well able to tolerate the physical and mental demands of high performance. We've seen other nations successfully compete in sevens and 15s. Look at the New Zealanders. So we know what we need to achieve on both fronts, and we'll have a well-designed and managed programme to facilitate that.
The WXV was brilliant to get the win, but the opposition wasn't maybe as strong as people would like when they're looking for challenges. How do you counter that when you're heading into Six Nations and you mightn't have had the challenges that you would have wanted to have?
Yeah, look, Six Nations is a level up. It's great competition. We found ourselves in WXV. Our only challenge at that point, once you're in it, is to win it. So regardless of what Kazakhstan and Colombia offered, what it did allow us to do was spend some time in foreign shores as a group, building our identity, building our cultural connections, and actually transferring some confidence in performance. So the Spanish game was tough for a few reasons, because it was the first time it probably met a bit of challenge. And Spain have got some good players. They do all right in the sevens world. They've got some fiery backs. They've got some skill sets. So it was never going to be easy. They were awkward to beat. And actually, we had to come through an experience. You know, by the half time, we'd had 2 yellow cards and we were down 10-0. Probably a year ago, that group might not have come back from that. But the stuff we're seeing, both let's reference the leadership, Tricky and Sam, like the voices, the calmness, the clarity of thought, the conviction in what they were saying, and how people buy into it. Half time, they come out and put a performance on to win a test match that mattered. It was important for us to win, and we won't shy away from talking about winning. Now, what we've got to build to get to that is confident performance. So going into a higher level competition, Six Nations, we're going to need that confidence, and we're going to need to be able to come through some challenges, whether that's scoreboard pressure, injury pressure, squad pressure. But I think the group's got a good heartbeat. I think they know what they're trying to achieve in this, and I think we can tolerate it.
There's probably some demons as well, because last year was really disappointing for the girls. How did you rebuild their self-confidence after that?
So there's been a lot of work going off behind the scenes. There's been a cultural reset. We're well supported by the RFU. We've got people that can come in and we talk about naming it and taming it. So we don't shy away talking about what went on. We're happy, fine, that existed there. Does it look the same now? Absolutely not. The heartbeat of the group, the connections they feel with each other, the bonds that we're growing, both on and off pitch. Like, it's high performance teams in team sports. It's not always your way. Sometimes you can come from dark places, but this group, I would say, I have every confidence stuff can get thrown at them now, and we'll take it in our stride. How quickly that translates to winning performance, we want it to be quick. Does it mean it will be? I'm sure we'll get some challenges, but we know what we're after, and I think we got a strong identity within the group and some good leaders in it that I think can tolerate it.
You were part of the English coaching staff previously. You're heading in now as the Ireland head coach of the Six Nations. Does it feel very different for you?
We had a great coaching team with the Red Roses. I learnt a lot from Simon Middleton. He's probably one of the most successful coaches in the women's game that's been out there. So look, I've got a chance now to test myself heading up a programme. It comes with it, as every programme would, with its challenges, but one thing I would say is absolutely the right pieces are in place for us to go after continual growth. So we want it to happen as quickly as we can. Having done the previous role before, there's maybe a few shortcuts that we can take that can accelerate learning. But I know the importance of having high trust, high performing backroom staff, and that's something that can only add to our environment.
You're going to be going to Twickenham to play England as well. That'll be nice.
Yeah, hey look, I was there a year ago, and there was nearly 60,000 people in what turned out to be quite a competitive test match against the French. So we're going there again. I understand there's been a fair few tickets being sold. We want our girls to get excited about those kind of environments. If we're talking about going to World Cups, and ultimately we're going to talk about being successful in World Cups, we need to get used to playing in these kind of arenas. Hopefully it's going to get more commonplace. We're going around Ireland, so for our home games, we've got opportunity to take our game and connect with public in and around Ireland. So we want to try and grow our support base here. We want to give people something to shout about, and hopefully not too long before we're filling the Aviva.
Why do you think, up until now anyway, well definitely over the last few years, that the Ireland women's rugby team haven't fulfilled their potential?
There's all sorts of reasons that can happen. I mean, when I first started coaching, Ireland were right up there. They had a couple of fundamentals to their game which I believe are important to success, especially if you're looking at World Cup contender level. You've got to have a strong set piece. Okay, you've got to have a defence that's hard to beat. You've got to be able to kick the ball. And you've got to have some decent carriers in there. So that Ireland team had those. I think whether there's over time changes of guard, people retire, people don't come through, but there's loads of support within the Ireland pathways now. So we've got a young senior team that we're building experiences into. We can do the stuff that I think are fundamentally important to winning and performing. And we know that coming through the pathway with the investment that's going on, things like the WNTS programme, under 20s, under 18s, we know that we're going to be able to start draw on girls as they come through the pathway, and hopefully we can accelerate their learning and hopefully get them involved in a successful Ireland team.
So what is your goal for the Six Nations?
Qualify for the World Cup.
Have you got games that you're targeting for that?
Oh, absolutely. We want to talk about, and we won't shy away from talking about winning. We've got two tough away games, but we're going to want to go there and fire shots. We've got teams coming to our shores. We want to build pride in our shores. We want to build confident performance, and we want that to look like winning. So does it mean it'll be instant as people want it to be? We want it to be as quick as we possibly can be. But our main thing out of this, we want to qualify for the World Cup. We want to build some pride in what we're trying to do, and we believe that will translate to winning performance.